Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Reverse Sweep Show. This is your host SS and joining me as ever is my co-host AB. I'm a bit under the weather, but the show must go on and the cricketing show always is on. We have India and Australia playing T20I series. You have an exciting England-New Zealand series going on. It seems Afghanistan and Bangladesh are always playing some cricket, but the big cricket and for a change is the women's game. We are almost at the fag end, the business end. India has reached the final. You would have seen a lot of content from our side around how we made that happen, and we are going to discuss much more maybe today as well. But first of all, AB, welcome to the show. And what have you been watching? Is there anything else, any other cricket that you have been watching? Following Ranji, maybe?
There's too much of cricket going on right now, and you said the show must go on, and what a show it was in the semifinals against Australia. Jemima Rodriguez, I think one of the best run chases of all time, not just in women's ODI, but in World Cups across men's and women's. But what an amazing innings that was, and really pumped for the finals now. I think I do feel this team is coming off age. It can be one of those moments in Indian women's cricket history, similar to what it was probably in 83 or 2011, or what it was for men's. So, really excited to see what happens. The India Australia men's T20 is always such a marquee encounter, but I think more eyeballs are going towards the women's World Cup final now. More people are talking about that than Surya Kumar and Mitch Marsh facing off down under. I think that series is going a bit under the radar. And yeah, that's broadly it from my side. This is what I've been following. What's up with you, SS? Anything else that you have been following? And also, what are we going to talk about today? Quick timeout. If you are loving this dive into cricket's wild twists and turns, hit that like button and subscribe to the Reverse Sweep Show.
And if you've got that one friend who can't stop talking about cricket, share this episode with them and bring them into the squad.
Yeah, I think the exploits of UP Ranji team is never far away from my laser eyes on cricket. But yeah, it's the Women's World Cup season that's been dominating the headlines and dominating my eyeballs as well. So today we are going to talk about the the road to the final for India and South Africa, and of course previewing the big final that's tomorrow as we are recording today. So we are going to look back at the part of the final. We start off with India. I think India has had a topsy-turvy event. They came into the World Cup on the backs of a high-scoring three-match series versus Australia, where they won a game, and then Australia has scored more than 400. But we were competing really well. We had a couple of practice games. We lost one against England, but we won against New Zealand. So there was a good feeling considering the home surroundings and everything. Good batting lineup as well. Smriti Mandhana in the form of her life. Harmanpreet, leader now for quite many years, and we have some exciting young players as well. We started off the tournament with games against Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and India did struggle with the bat. India's lower middle order had to bail us out, and we were able to get to respectable totals. And then with our bowling and also the gulf between the two nations when we were playing against Pakistan and Sri Lanka, we were able to get over the line quite comfortably at the end. But we did struggle, and you could see that we had to really step up a gear against the top nations, and we find it difficult against South Africa. We should have won the game, but De Klerk came to the fore, and the game was stolen from us. Then we were resoundingly beaten by Australia after making such a huge total. Of course, we'll talk about how we won up later on, but Australia had to pull that, and it was a reminiscence of the ODI series that had preceded the World Cup. But at that moment, we started getting back in form, at least with the bat. Mandhana making runs, Pratika Rawal getting into a bit of form, and Harmanpreet also batting well. She always does pretty well against Australia in the World Cup. Against England was a game which we'll talk probably a bit more about, but we should have won, but we goofed up the chase a bit. And then there was this phase. So it was topsy-turvy. This was the turvy part of it. We lost three games in a row. And in a way, we were a bit safe, but we needed to win against New Zealand, which we were able to reverse the trend and win that game. And then the Bangladesh game became inconsequential. So we were able to qualify just in time, but we knew that we had to go through Australia and the defending champions, but we know from our previous discussion, it's very difficult to defend your World Cup trophy and all the path to victory. I will have to gloat again. It just went with the same flow, and we were able to beat through that fantastic chase Jemima Rodriguez, Harmanpreet with 89 as well. I mean, amazing chase, and with some lusty hitting down the order, and we were able to do one of the greatest chases ever. Of course, statistically, yes, but also considering the opposition, considering the landmark, considering World Cup semi-final. in India, amazing chase. And now we are in the big final, which we all hoped for before the World Cup. A lot of predictions were India versus Australia. India kept its end of the bargain and has reached the final. They did not. But here we are. So I would say topsy-turvy. It started off with lower middle order contributing a lot and our bowlers bailing us. But now the batting is looking good. I think every player, every batter has made substantial scores at some point, and we expect big things in the final as well with the bat. It's looking good. Pratika Rawal out of the tournament. Shafali has come in with the X factor. We will talk a bit more about her as well. But it seems that everyone has clicked at certain point of time. We need one more time for at least 3 or 4 of them to stand up again in the big final. There will be some demons on the South Africa game, but the path to final has been topsy-turvy. But I hope we finish on the high end and win the World Cup.
Yeah, I think you have spoken about so many points on that. India's path to the finals. When I was following it, and even before the World Cup began, we were talking about it. That Indian team was riding that form, riding the wave of form, and we came into the World Cup a few easy matches, and we thought we are set, we are good to go. But then we saw that we were overall struggling with our lineup. What balance do we go with the team in each of those matches? And somehow I feel South Africa match, we kind of justified by saying that, it was a freak innings by Nadine de Clutch, as you say. Australia, they are the strongest team. If we lose, it's okay. We are allowed that one loss in the World Cup. But that England match was kind of like something that really stung, really hurt. And it could have been a make or break point for this Indian side. Fortunately for us, we only went up from there. I think it could have very well been the other side. We could have fallen off the cliff from there. But fortunately for us, I think good leadership from that side, that we were able to pull in the right players, have the right mindset going into the next set of matches. And we see New Zealand was when the entire batting lineup clicked. Top order making big runs, not just the starts, but converting it into centuries. Pratika Rawal, Smriti Mandhana, and then Jemima Rodriguez giving us that perfect finish, and then the bowlers also coming into fray. That was when the entire team clicked together for the first time, and then we saw what happened against Australia. So that was one point. And SSI, I think you also mentioned that we were comfortable even before that New Zealand match, but that was because New Zealand was very unlucky, right? We also got to speak about that. With so many matches getting washed out, I think New Zealand got the poor end of the bargain on that. And India, fortunately, was able to ride through.
Yeah, it's one of the gripes that we had for ICC, that why have Sri Lanka as one of the host nations in this season when you have so much rain effect, and so many of Sri Lanka's games were rain affected. India got lucky and got the 2 points. And if New Zealand had actually got 2 extra points with the rain washed out games, and then there would have been a much larger pressure on India going into that New Zealand game, and things could have gone differently maybe. And then with India's game being rained off against Bangladesh later on, which we should have won. I mean, we would have won if the rain hadn't. Then things would have been markedly different. I mean, India wouldn't have even made the semifinals. So I think we got the rub of the green when it came to rain's end, and I think we have to give a shout out to Indradev, as we call it, that we were able to get a better bargain on that. And it cannot be, but fair play to India. I mean, when it came to that game versus New Zealand, even though the pressure was not there, there was pressure because we had lost 3 games in a row, and we needed to restamp the authority. Everyone came to the fore, and yeah, we are now in the finals now after defeating Australia. That great game. There was so much to talk about. We talked a bit on in our short form content as well, uh, on what could have happened and what did happen. But now we have to also not ignore the opposition as well. We have to talk about South Africa. What did you make of their road to the final, AB?
Yeah, one thing that is for certain in this World Cup is that this World Cup is going to get a new winner. India and South Africa have never won a World Cup before. And this South African team originally, prior to the World Cup started, we always spoke about New Zealand and South Africa competing for that number 4 spot. And somehow I think South Africa proved all of us wrong. They were a notch above what all of us estimated them to be at. Their start and their finish in the league was, I think, one of the worst ever for South Africa. But in between, the patch that they had was a wonderful run. The first match against England, they were bowled out for 60 something, and England was able to very comfortably chase that. The last match against Australia, again bowled out very cheaply, and Australia was able to chase. But in between, they had 5 match winning streak and some very, very dominant performances. Some of the performances that I remember, I think against India, against Bangladesh, wasn't a very convincing win, a very strong win, but it was Nadine de Klerk, was Tryon. They pulled out some amazing partnerships, and South Africa was able to close the matches very well, which we have seen was a problem with India against that England match. And then we also saw those bursts of complete dominance that South Africa had, with Laura Woolward scoring, Marizanne Kapp picking up wickets, Tasmin Brits coming into the fray and scoring hundreds. So South Africa, the first match, the last match, very bad defeats, but in between they had a really good purple patch, and that took them to the semifinals. And semifinals was the real stamp of authority. I feel a team which is number two in the world. England is number two ranked in the world. They qualified at the number two spot. They were completely blown away by that 169 by Laura Woolward. I think one of the best semi-final knocks of all time. And so many of those, right? Jemima Rodriguez in the second semi-final, Laura Woolward. And we cannot forget Harmanpreet's 171 back in the day. But yeah,
Yeah.
credit where it's due. Laura Woolward, 169, completely blows away England with the bat, and then Marizanne Kapp coming in and picking up those 5 wickets and completely blowing them away with the ball as well. South Africa find themselves in the final. I think one area of weakness that I can see is probably the spin. Spin is where they lost against England in the first match. That's where they lost against Australia and Alana King picking up 7 wickets in the last league match. But barring that, their batting looks really solid. They have the openers, Laura Woolward, Tasmin Brits, a very deep batting order. I think 7-8 is
Yeah.
Tryon and Nadine de Klerk. Nadine de Klerk having a Klusner-esque season, as we always keep talking about. So I feel they're looking very good.
And
Their part to finals has been more linear
yeah.
compared to India's.
I'm glad that you mentioned about their deep batting lineup, and this is a delta with India because India effectively is playing with one lesser batter, and then you have a tail from 8 to 11. So I think South Africa bats deep, and in a way, when Chloe Tirol and Nadine Leclerc has been able to win 2 games for them at the kind of batting slots that they come from, you wouldn't expect India to win from there if it comes down to your number 7, number 8, number 9. I think it's also quite a testament to the how South Africa is as a cricketing nation and sporting nation as well. I mean, 2013 only they got the contracts, the women cricketers, and in those 12 years, they made to 4 ICC finals already. I think they did very well in the T20 World Cup. Now they're in the finals of the ODI World Cup as well. There are systemic issues with Cricket South Africa in general, and even in the last T20 World Cup, you had a couple of senior players not making the team because they had differences with the board as well. But they always produce great cricketers and great athletes, and power hitting is something that we talked about, something which again is a delta. Only Richa Ghosh probably and Harmanpreet on her pomp, and now Smriti Mandhana with her big biceps can make those fantastic runs, but you still feel power hitting is also one area where South Africa has an edge. And they have been able to get out of jail in a couple of games. So they have that clutchness, which you don't normally associate with South African cricket in general, because they have got big clutch. And I think if it comes to it, they will have that advantage. We'll talk more about in our preview section. But South Africa have really impressed me, and I think we knew while the tournament was unfolding that they will qualify for the semi-final, second, and third. But they have such a awful record versus England. I was looking back at all the bilaterals they've played since 2022, and they've just won 1 game versus England, while England have won 9 or 10 of them. And they had suffered, as you mentioned, a pretty bad defeat in the first game. And so you would think that England, with all the experience of playing a lot against South Africa, also making a lot of finals in their past. So the legacy was also there in their favor. And England have got a lot of cricketers who play all around the world. They are one of the teams that have got a lot of cricketers playing county, the women's 100. They're most exposed to cricket. In general, the financial muscle of the board is there, that they're exposed to great facilities and everything. The record spoke for itself, but South Africa were able to buck the trend in the semi-finals. Laura Woolward with one of the great innings there, and that had a big role to play. So kudos to South Africa for coming in, and it will be a worthy final, I think. India and South Africa. And I believe we should talk more about the final and key players to watch. There are key battles that we talked about, and I think we should mention it to the audience as well. What are some of the key battles that you are looking for in the big final?
For me personally, the first thing that comes to mind when I look at these two lineups are two extremely key players, which are extremely like to like from both the sides. So one is Smriti Mandhana versus Laura Woolward. Both mavericks when it comes to batting, and the records speak for themselves. They are the closest in terms to overall stats. In amazing form in this World Cup leading up to the finals. Both of them have scored those big runs and have that form going with them. The second is when it comes to opening the bowling, Renuka Singh Thakur and Marizanne Kapp, both again looking very good. Marizan Kaur probably has picked up more wickets in this tournament than Renuka Singh, but we have seen the kind of impact that Thakur has brought in after she was brought back into the team. So I feel here the battle would really be between Mandhana and Marizan Kaur and Thakur and Laura Woolward. So whichever team wins these two battles, I think will have a huge up in the overall match. So that's the first thing which I look at when I look at these two teams. What do you think are the key battles or the key players?
I think one battle is within the Indian team management on who they pick as a second opener. I think we drafted in Shefali Verma. She has struggled with the bat in the last 1 year, averages around 21, 22, but the sheer impact, the X factor, the strike rate, and the ability to put the pressure back on the opposition. If she gets going with Spriti, you could have a 10 over scenario where we are 80 or 90. And that is something that you will not be able to achieve with Harleen. She'll give the solidity. You can have a very predictable, reliable partnership with Spriti at the top. But what the management will go, I think Shefali was tried for one game. She was drafted in. You have to trust her in the final. I mean, must be some logic. Otherwise, you would have straight away gone with Harleen as the opener and Shefali as like the backup, in the squad. Now, since you have trusted, I would want that trust to go. And it's a high risk, high reward thing. But the reward that she promises, if it comes out, I mean, that will be amazing. So that's an internal kind of, I think, a
Is it?
battle that I am looking.
Thinking back about it, very similar to Yusuf Pathan opening for us in the 2007 World Cup, is it?
Of course. Yeah.
You
With
never know
Sehwag
what you're
out.
going to get out of.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Sehwag out, you got it Yusuf Pathan. But now she's a Sehwag in a way. Sehwag such a kind of a thing with Priti as Shefali. That will be very interesting. But also, I think you touched upon on another kind of a battle will be South Africa has a batting depth. They have the clutchness. India lacks that. But India has something which South Africa struggle with is the spin factor. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I feel that is again going to be one of the most critical battles in this game. How do Deepti Sharma, Sri Charani, they have been bowling wonderfully well in this tournament. Can they pick up those wickets in the middle overs against the South African batting attack and put them on the back foot? We have seen historically that South Africa probably is not the best when it comes to playing spin, and they have shown that weakness in the match against Australia, in the match against England as well. So I think Indian spinners will be extremely important in this. And this matchup is what I'm looking at. Deepti Sharma and Sri Charani against the likes of Lewis, Marizan Kaur, and the other middle order batters in South Africa.
Yeah, I think spin will be a huge factor. I think South Africa already struggled, as you mentioned, against England. And I think whenever India and South Africa have played in the past, spin has played a role. And I think there's a quality difference over there. And if we can trap a couple of their guys with our spin, and especially our spinners also can bat a bit as well. So I'm expecting that how we like calling it notional batting depth coming in through the spinners who can bat a bit. I feel that that could be an insurance policy, but I think spin is going to be a big factor even in the second innings. I think to curtail the runs, to build pressure, and trying to make the South African batsmen trying to do something out of the ordinary, that's going to be a big factor. But now, having discussed the key players and the key battles, now it's the time to discuss the path to victory. What do you think is the path to victory for South Africa, AB, in the big final?
For South Africa, if they have to win, I think I really feel the one area they lack, and we spoke so much about it, is spin. If South Africa has to win, then I really am looking at how do they counter that spin if they bat first. Plus, I think Laura Wolwart has to go big. If they are batting first, then Laura Wolwart goes big and they play well against Indian spinners, post up a big total and put India under real pressure. Or if they are batting second, then they just hope that you come sooner, and Indian spinners are less effective against the batters. So that for me, I think would be the path to victory. What about you, SS? Who do you think wins the final, and what is the path to victory for them?
I really think that irrespective of who bats first, they will make big score. And when I say big score, it will be 275 to 80 plus for either of the teams. I think they have both strong batting. South Africa has a larger variance with the score because of the spin factor, especially if they bat first. Indian spinners can curtail them, and if they are really up to the mark, we could curtail them 250, 260 as well, in a base level scenario. And then India is able to chase it down. If it is second, then South Africa has the batting and the clutchness and the experience of doing it versus India in this World Cup couple of weeks back, and with the dew coming in, that they can chase a big score. But I think on the either side, India has a higher ceiling on both the scenarios. India has a higher ceiling to make larger amount of runs in the first innings. It might not be enough if South Africa has a great day, and if Tasmin Brits and Woolwart and everyone comes to the fore and dew comes early, as you mentioned, then they could chase it down. But I would expect there will be a certain extra level of pressure of a final. And India, if they pick couple of early wickets. But the best scenario for India is what I said in the semi-finals as well. In Mumbai, there's a history of India chasing in a big final in a World Cup in Mumbai. Think of 2011 and think of a World Cup final in November in India. We batted first and we batted in Shell on 19 November 2023. So I would prefer Indian team.
So many parallels.
Yeah, exactly. So if it comes to it, bat second. I know there's this notion that Australia over the years in both men and women cricket has come in that in a big final always bat first and put runs on the board. But India has lost to South Africa. South Africa was able to chase. India won against Australia, the biggest team ever, by chasing the biggest score ever. So I think the confidence will be up. They know which run rate to go for. They know that they will be able to pace the innings well, especially if Shefali is able to give us a fast start. So I think the biggest part to victory is India chasing, hopefully less than 300, and they will be able to manage it because they have the batting lineup to manage it, even if it's one batter lesser. If they do bat first, I do back them to make a larger score because I think they will be able to rely on their batting, and I don't think South African spinners will be such a big problem for us. But I would prefer, I think that will open a bit of a door for South Africa to chase it down, especially if we underscore. So I think the road to victory for India is bat second, chase it down, even if the dew comes after 35, 40 overs. The nervousness of the chase will go away with the dew negating that. And the big players, I think Shefali Verma can do it in the final.
I also feel Richa Ghosh has a huge part to play, especially we saw in the league match the way she took a liking to the South African bowlers. I
Yeah,
hope she can
exactly.
replicate that in the finals.
And she has got something which Harman used to have in her pomp. Now Harman comes in with a maturity and having to bat. I mean, your Shefali Verma X factor at the top, but somebody to do lusty hitting, somebody to do a big clerk, 20 ball for 35, 20 ball 40. Richa Ghosh can do that, and she's
That's
going to be a
got to be
vital
Richa
player.
Ghosh.
Yeah, I really think Deepti Sharma and Richa Ghosh both will have a very big role to play in the final. So
Definitely.
there you have it, guys. That was our World Cup final preview. Also on the back, in sometimes when you have to look forward, you have to look back. So we also did a road to the final as well. The big final is tomorrow, and let's hope in the month of November in a big World Cup final we are on the right side this time, irrespective we bat first or second. But it'll be a fun and exciting game to watch. Two great sides, both India and South Africa. We will have a new winner, as AB mentioned in the ODI women's game. So hoping that's India, but hoping for a great game. Keep following us on our social media as well as on YouTube. We'll publish every week and look forward to publishing more short form content as well. Do like, share, and subscribe, and send this episode out to your friends if you like watching women's game in general or cricket in general as well. But till then, goodbye and thank you, everyone.